Heat waves. We get a few of them out west, especially at this time of year. As gardeners, how can we prepare for these types of conditions? That's a question the team at Kings Park and Botanic Gardens have been tackling. Ali, despite the scale of this place, I'm assuming that many of the challenges you're facing would be similar to those of us at home. For example, how have the gardens gone with the crazy heat this summer?
It has been a challenge. It's been a really, really hot summer so far. A lot of our well-established plants are really resilient and used to this kind of climate to an extent. Another strategy we use is to plant a really great suite of lovely species from some of the hotter areas within Western Australia, and they absolutely thrive in these hot temperatures. Here we are, here's a perfect example of a resilient plant in these hot summer months we've been having in Perth. This is Crotalaria cunninghamii, or the Greenbird Flower, so named for these beautiful bird-shaped flowers that sit in this lovely panicle held high above these lovely soft grey-green leaves. It also follows on with these lovely pods here that rattle once they're ripe with seed. Quite a nice ornamental feature in their own right. We treat it as an annual here, but it does get quite woody and it does have some perenniality in its natural range in the Kimberley, Pilbara, the desert regions of Western Australia.
The flowers look like origami. They're so detailed in their folding.
Yep.
Do they persist in the hot weather?
They do. They last really well. You can see from these arrangements here, they actually start to flower at the top of the panicle and open slowly all the way down. So they do last a good long while, even in the really hot weather. Here's an iconic Northwest Australian plant, the Ptilotus exaltatus, Mulla Mulla. It's got these beautiful sort of violet pink almost flowers that sit atop the stems with this lovely blue-green, leathery, still quite soft but robust foliage. And the plant itself here in Kings Park probably gets between 50 to 75 centimetres tall. And as you can see, it spreads quite nicely and fills a space in the garden or in a pot if you prefer to grow them in a pot. We plant them out as seedlings. We find that we get the best results that way.
In the wild, you see them as sort of mass displays. I guess there's no reason why you couldn't create the same kind of effect as a bedding plant at home.
Absolutely. If you had an open space on your verge, other areas in your garden that's sort of a bit bare in summer, you could plant some of these in and let them spread and ramble and fill that space over those hotter months. It'd look great.
How about care? Do you find they need a bit of pruning to keep them tidy over the growing season?
Yeah, it's entirely up to you. So you can prune them. We do that here sometimes. Sometimes we just let them run. Other times, if they're getting a bit scrappy at the end, we might prune them back down into a healthy pair of leaves. And then we do find that they shoot on again and flower again. Another beautiful species that we grow is Gomphrena canescens, Bachelor's buttons. A little bit similar in flower to this one, but hot pink and a more globular flower head. A little bit finer foliage, and that comes from up in those hot northern regions as well, up through the Pilbara and Kimberley. Gets to about 50 centimetres or so with us, also spreads out beautifully, good for in a pot or planting en masse through those hot areas in the garden over summer.
Speaking of iconic, arid land, heat-tolerant annuals, you can't go past the desert pea.
You sure can't. It is absolutely stunning. This comes from inland arid regions all around Australia, apart from Victoria, and it's found growing here in WA, in the north, in from the desert out to the Pilbara coast. And we grow it here in Kings Park, treat it as a sprawling annual in our bed displays, in our gardens, but also we grow it as a pot specimen as well, and it grows very well in a pot.
So this one's well known and loved, but what's this little ripper?
That gorgeous little thing there is a Calandrinia mirabilis. Mirabilis being Latin for extraordinary and wonderful. And you can see why. It's got these stunning hot pink flowers, succulent-like fleshy green leaves. And this is found up in the Gascoyne and Murchison regions inland and grows over those very, very hot conditions there. And so we just treat it as an annual here in our displays over the summer months.
What's the availability like of these species for the home gardener?
So a lot of them are readily available, either as seed or as plants. So for example, the Swainsona you could get as a seed or as a plant. Same with the Mulla Mulla, the Ptilotus, the Bachelor's buttons, the Gomphrena, and also the Crotalaria, the Greenbird Flower. Things like this lovely Calandrinia here, not so readily available yet, but we hope that one day in the future we can make more of these climate resilient plants available for gardeners to use over those hot summer months.
What's the timing of planting to have these flowers looking at their best during the heat?
So we sow them, all of the species that we've spoken about today, in mid-September, grow them on under glass, harden them off and then plant them out usually late November to mid-December as we're coming into our hotter time of the year in Perth. We keep them well watered, so they get a deep soak twice a week. That's sufficient for them, and that just keeps them growing nicely even during these really hot temperatures that we've been having.